everyone. I am so excited to have our very first guest for the Well. This is episode 4, and we are actually doing a collaboration, aren't we?
We are.
So Daniel heads up Your Zen Life, and we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to get together and talk about a subject that I think everyone can connect with and get something out of this chat. Can you please start by telling people about yourself, what you do, what you're passionate about, and just the sort of life work?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Daniel Ahearn. I'm a therapist and a meditation coach. I'm interested in attachment repair, which basically means looking at how to improve your relationship with yourself and the world and the relationships that you have in the world. That's probably the easiest way to break it down. Things that are important to me. I mean, that's a very long list. What we're trying to do at Your Zen Life and with Lovewell and this whole community really is make it accessible for people to learn about things that can actually help change their life, and we hope for the better, whether that's interpersonal relationships or stuff about social justice. And it's a work in process, and you're involved in it.
I am. In a small way. Daniel is one of our favorite people in all the land. I just told him he has such a calming effect. I have had such a stressful week this week. I've been talking about it a lot actually in my vlogs and on social media. And I keep trying to blame it on either pregnancy hormones or Mercury retrograde. And Daniel walked in and I was like, oh, that's what I need, just to be around this presence, because you're so calming and beautiful and connected. And I think when I first met you, I hadn't done a lot of self-work. And I remember whenever I was in your presence, it's like, he's looking into my soul. He sees all the things. And there was a certain vulnerability, I think, when I was around you, because it made me feel like I wanted to open up to you. And I love that just your presence alone creates a space for someone to feel comfortable to sort of orbit that. So
that's really beautiful to hear. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness.
I feel the same about you.
Oh, well, that's really sweet. Thank you.
What you're touching on is really powerful. It's a practice of attuning with people, right? I guess maybe this would be interesting to talk about. That I work with a lot of, as you know, people who are unhoused in the unhoused community. And what a lot of people don't understand about being unhoused is that survival isn't really the hardest part. It's not the absence of food. It's not even the absence of shelter. The thing that is so mortifying and painful and destabilizing is that people look through you, that you don't even count anymore. And as a species, what we really require is to be seen and to actually be seen. And when we are actually seen and we actually connect with each other and attune to each other, that intimacy can create such an opportunity for growth. That vulnerability, I see you and you know that I see you and you see me, and we have this opportunity to connect. And the radical thing is when that happens, it creates this experience in the mind called interpersonal neurobiology. To be seen is a requirement. It's like an update in the brain. So it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And with your partner, you know, with your friend, you don't even really have to hear what's going on. Like you mentioned, you have a lot of stuff going on. But just connecting, you start to feel better because you realize you're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really what we want to touch upon in this talk is when your lows feel too low. And I noticed myself this week, it was like a snowball effect. I would really sort of stick to one thing that was really emotionally challenging for me. And then once I had processed it and unpacked it, and I actually really utilized Mark in this process with me, I would sit with him and dump it all out, and he would help sort of pick everything up with me, and we'd go through and kind of weave it all out. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, that feels like how liberating, that feels so great. But then my tendency this week in particular was to find something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would jump into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I was riding this roller coaster of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to break this pattern of self-critical thought. And I tried to get outside of myself in a way and observe my patterns this week. And I realized I was just feeling stuck, really stuck. And I've done a couple of lives this week, and there were so many other people when I was talking about this experience who were reflecting back to me that they too were in a rut and they were finding it really hard to pull themselves out of it. Someone asked me this morning, well, how do you get a positive mindset? How do you achieve that? And I'd love to just, as a therapist, and I call him my spiritual guru, how would you answer that sort of question for someone?
It's a great question, right? How do you deal with adversity? Because adversity is part of life, right? The idea of just removing adversity is the fantasy. So if you have that mindset, let it go. Adversity is part of life, right? The question that we have is, how do we deal with it in a way where it doesn't knock us off balance for too long, and when we can come back with more ease, right? So I guess what we're talking about is mental health, right? I think an important thing for people to consider is that mental health is a skill, right? It's not a given. It's like anything else you have healthy in your life. You have to work towards it. And because it's a skill, it means that you have to work towards it. The way we develop skills is we apply time and energy to them. That's how you learn how to do things. So if mental health is important to you, and it should be, you need to allocate time and energy to developing that skill, right? So ways that I like to spend time developing the skill of mental health involve meditation. When we talk about meditation, we've said this before, we talk about it as a practice, right? And so what are you practicing for? You're practicing for life. So if you look at meditation as a mental health skill and you're building that skill and you're practicing, it's a place that you can go to work on or not work on, just be in the space and then see how it plays out in life. And I want to speak specifically to this week because I think it's a palpable time in our culture. We are ending a really traumatic shared experience of being shut down and shut inside and frightened of a virus, and rightfully so. So as we're edging back out into the world, we still are going to have to offload
all the noises.
There's a lot of noises in the world. We just have to roll with them. Offload and process all that pent-up anxiety. So I think what a lot of people are experiencing, and maybe you're experiencing this, is irritability. Irritability is spikes in sadness, feelings of depression, feeling like there's a loss. And I just want to say that that's an appropriate response to what we've been through. So if you can give yourself a break and a deep breath, I hope that you do. You know, specifically this idea that you were talking about, what do you do to create a positive mind state? Well, I have a little practice that I'd like to offer, and maybe it's useful. It's 3 steps that I offer people whenever they sit in meditation, and I think they're really invaluable. The reason they're invaluable, they help organize your meditation practice, but you can also do them anywhere and everywhere. So those 3 steps are really addressing your body, noticing your body, finding your breath, and setting your intention. And they sound like no big deal, but if you actually sit with them, if you actually take a moment in formal meditation when you're out in the world and notice what's happening with your body. I'm sure in your anxious week, in your challenging week, the jaw was tight.
Absolutely.
And the shoulders were tight. And when that happens and the body shuts down, that triggers to the mind that something's wrong. So when you go from one painful experience and then you found yourself searching for another one, that's the response of the anxiety, because the body is looking for a threat. This was super useful when tigers were going to eat us, less useful now.
Yes.
So it's a remnant of our evolution.
Yes.
So setting up the body, connecting to the breath, finding the breath, and let's talk about intention setting, because I think it's important to you too.
Absolutely. That was actually last episode of The Well. We talked about intention setting, visualization, and all those beautiful positive affirmations, calling in your dream being. And I talk about that a lot.
It's an incredibly powerful technology, right? What's a technology? This is important. And I think looking at meditation and intention setting as a technology is really helpful, because a technology is an organization of information for practical uses, right? So start looking at these things as technologies. You may benefit from not looking at them as only spiritual practices. You may just look at them as technological methods that you use to engage in the world in a more skillful way. And then the spiritual experience is kind of an afterthought, right? It follows that. So with intention, what I like to do is when I sit, is I like to call in my best version of myself. I like to invite in my best version of myself and bring that into the practice. What I like to do in that is let go of any limiting beliefs that I find creep in. My teacher, Dr. Daniel Brown, speaks about this so skillfully, and I found it so incredibly useful. And I share it with people because it'll change your day. It can change your life. You set up the practice, you find your body, you find your breath, and then you call in your best version of yourself, and you really familiarize yourself with what that experience feels like. And then you let go of all the lingering self-limiting beliefs that you may have. And then you organize your meditation around this, set this up as what he says, your base of operation, and then go back into the practice. Now, if you do that in a formal meditation, it's great. But when you're out in the world, that's a 3-step process that can really change your mind state. I'm out in the world and I'm freaking out and oh my God, what happened? And I can't believe I said that. Why did I say that? I'm such an idiot. You're time traveling in that moment. You're not in the present moment, right? So if you can find your body, take a moment to follow your breath and set your intention and organize around your better quality of self. And in that, invite into the moment, what would my best self do in this situation? Not the one that's so freaked out right now. I think that's pretty useful.
I love that.
Cool.
Oh, I needed you like Monday of last week. I love that idea of your best self. What would you, and we often call it like our higher self. Or, Mark refers to it as like esoteric Mark. But I love that idea because everyone can picture that.
Yeah. What are your best qualities?
Absolutely.
You know, I work a lot with teens and I ask them this all the time. You know, it's like, what are the qualities that you want to pursue what do you want to develop in your life and pursue your life from those qualities, right? It's pretty simple. You know, I tell the kids, like, if you get in your car and you're like, I want pizza, but you don't put address in the GPS, you're driving around aimlessly. So the address is your intention, right? It's where you want to go. It's how you want to be. And it's important to cultivate that because what you're doing is you're familiarizing yourself with that so you can refer to it more quickly.
And is that what you've found in your practice? Is that you're able to tap in much more rapidly because you have been practicing it for such a long time? Oh,
lovely. I guess I have. I think what you do, you know, I think I've said this before, I don't like the idea of meditation being offered as I'm stressed and then I meditate and I feel better and then I go back to my stressful life.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to live in the experience as much as possible. So
you are a walking meditation. I always say that. It's like you always seem like you're in a deep meditation, but you are just so in your body more than anyone I've ever met. Because I think so many of us come out of our bodies. But you sit there and you breathe. I see you breathing. Like,
that's really
really breathing.
That's sweet. Thank you. I think it helps to have a daily practice.
Yeah.
Because it gives you an opportunity to refer to it more frequently. If you just studied a language one day a month, you'd never learn the language. You have to immerse yourself. So part of my interest as a teacher and a therapist is really to familiarize people with practices that make sense, that they can make use of, that sort of strip them from this idea of, oh, I can't do that. That's not for me. You know, that's too far out.
Self-limiting thoughts that we all have.
Absolutely.
Where can people find you? Because I know all these people watching are going to want more of Daniel Ahearn.
That's really sweet. Well, the social media thing that we do is Your Zen Life, and I'm on there frequently. And then
which is at Love Your Zen Life.
Thank you, at Love Your Zen Life. And then I have a company that I started called Pthwrk, and it's Pthwrk. And out of that, you know, I see people and I do groups and I do work in that world. And there's a ton of really skilled and beautiful practitioners out there to choose from, and I like to share that information. So I'm happy to direct people to a place that's warm for them. It's important.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you to all the noises. It's been such a beautiful episode. I feel so amazing just being around you, and it's really helped inspire me to pick up that meditation practice again.
Cool. Let's sit together sometime.
Yeah, I would love that. All right, everyone. Mwah! So much love. Bye.